Hello, my name is John Thompson, and I'm an instructional technology consultant for UW-Madison DeWitt Academic Technology. And I want to show you how the Learn at UW or Desire to Learn ePortfolio can help you take things from your course or anything else that you do while you're here at the university and put them all together in one thing that you can show off to prospective employers, to your instructors, really anybody who you want to share all these materials with. One thing to note is right now it's in a pilot, so we're deciding whether or not we're going to use it, and we'll have made that decision by the end of spring semester 2011. So let's take a look. First, you'll notice after you log into Learn at UW that you'll find the ePortfolio here under your My Settings, kind of below your profile picture. So to anything you do in the ePortfolio, just click on that link. So you'll notice that that's a personal tool. It's not connected to your courses in any way. It's really something that really spans all of your experience here in Learn at UW. You'll notice a few things that you can add to the ePortfolio. The first is artifacts, and those are basically documents, images, video, things like that that you want to put in that you might want to use in different ways in your ePortfolio. That's really kind of the binder that you're putting a lot of things together in. We'll also talk a little bit about presentations. Presentations are basically web pages that you can put together to either show off to your instructor or perhaps prospective employer, friend, whatever it might be. It's kind of like a mini web page to show off those artifacts. And we'll really briefly touch on reflections, which is a chance to step back and think about an artifact or think about a reflection kind of after a little bit of time has passed. But here, let's start out and take a look at artifacts. So if I click on the artifact link, you'll see, you probably could guess, if I want to add a new artifact to upload something, I click Add Artifact. And there's a few different options for the types of artifacts that you can upload. Many times you'll be uploading a file, so I'm going to do that first. I'll do one more after this one. Right after I click Add File, it brings me to a thing where I can add something. Let's say I want to add my paper. This is a really good one that I want to show off, or maybe it's the one that my instructor told me I want to share. So there it is. Just click Next. And then you'll be asked to give a little bit of a description of it. You'd probably give it a better name than this. And the description, this is actually important because this description will show up in the main presentation page. So give it something that you'd be okay showing up publicly. It's not just something that's going to sit here behind the scenes in Learn at UW. If you want to help organize things as time goes on, you can add tags. It's pretty easy. My tag is not a very good one, but there we go. The key to this, and this is kind of a catch, you have to hit Add Tag in order for it to actually add it. You probably noticed that it will add, suggest the tags that you've used in the past below. You can click on those and add tag as well. Once you're done, you just click Add. And that's it. There's another kind of artifact that you might want to add. I'm going to click Add Artifact again. And this is creating a file. And basically this is something that you can type everything out and add it right here within Learn at UW, do all the typing, and it'll show up right within your presentation. And any of multiple presentations, you can use this over and over. So I'm going to call it an example. It's probably a bad name, but you'll see if you click in this editor here, it looks a lot like something like Microsoft Word. A little bit cramped on space, but we can get a little bit more room here. You've got bold, italic. You can add images, so if you've added an image as an artifact, that will show up there. You can add links using this little chain icon. You can do anything really that you want. And I'm making a little note that this will show up eventually. There's a little trick that you have to do to have it show up in a presentation. I'll show you how to do that. And again, you can give it a name. This will actually show up again within the presentation. The description, I'll leave it as a description so you can see actually what that will look like. And again, if I want to do tags, I can do that here. Maybe I'll actually click on tag here. Still have to say add tag though. And add. Now if your instructor asks you to do any reflections on artifacts, that's pretty easy to do. The easiest way to do it, I think, is to click on the name and then to use this add reflection button here. That's basically about like adding the artifact that we just added, so I'm not going to demonstrate it, but that's where that button is. Let's take a look at presentations. There's a couple different ways to add presentations. If your instructor wants you to import kind of a template that they've prepackaged, you can do it that way, and I'll show you how to do that. But I want to point out before I do that if your instructor wants you to create things from scratch, totally on your own, use this great big new presentation button. So I'm going to click this Import Export button, and I'm going to import ePortfolio content. So your instructor will provide you with a file that basically is that template that they want you to use. So I'm going to browse for it, pick the ZIP, the zip file that they wanted you to use, and then say Next. That's going to work on it just a moment. And you can say Import All Items. If you want to add tags, maybe for the course that you're using this ePortfolio item in, you could do that right here. I'm not going to do that at the moment. And it's going to take a minute to actually do the import. You can watch that in the pop-up. I kind of like doing that. Sort of a geek that way, I guess. There it is. Your file has been imported. Great. We'll close that. And now it should be waiting for me under the presentations. I called it Pilot Recreation. I guess that's not a great name, but that's okay. If I want to preview it, I can click on the name. If I want to edit it, I'll click on the pencil. We'll get to this key, which is permissions, in just a moment. So here's the name. You can rename it if you want. You don't have to. Tags again. And here also are reflections. If you want to associate reflections with presentations, you can do that as well. The main action, though, is sitting under this Content Layout tab. So actually, let's preview this first. So if I go to View Presentation, you'll see kind of what these presentations look like. It's basically, like I say, a little web page with a banner across the top. You can change that name under the Banner tab, and a number of pages. And within these pages, your instructor will have you add those artifacts. These little headings across the top are text areas that your instructor has kind of provided to help you along, although you can remove those if that's okay with them. So I close that, and here again under the Content Layout, you can see that there's all of these pages, and this text area has already been added. I can navigate through the pages just by clicking on their name, or add new pages with this icon right here, or change the page properties using this drop down. I'm going to go back to the home. I'm just going to add a couple artifacts there. You probably could guess if you want to add an artifact to this page. I have it selected. I click Add Component. In this case, I want to add an artifact, but you can see there's lots of different things that you can add. Let's say I want to add the really good paper. I'm going to check it, I'm going to say Add, and that's it. So now if I view the presentation, you'll see kind of what it looks like. Sorry, it's a little cramped on space here. Here's the name, here's that description that I entered before, and there's a link to it. It's a Word document, so it's not going to show up on this page. I'm going to close this. Let's take a look at what it looks like if I add that new file that I created here in the ePortfolio. Again, Add Component, Artifact, and I called this one Example 2. Let's do that and say Add. Now I'm going to view this again just to show you what's going to happen, and this is maybe a little bit weird. It looks a lot like the Word document, and here's that description. Well, to me, I want to see that stuff that I typed in here and have that show up here. So there's a little trick that you have to do that. And just a word of caution, this is the same trick that you would use if you uploaded an artifact that was an image. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this drop-down menu, whoops, and I'm going to edit the display options. It's right here at the top, again using that drop-down menu. Here again I can do the name, I have that description, but the one I'm looking for is here under Appearance. I want to display the artifact in place on the page, and then I'm going to say Save. If it was an image, you might want to say not to resize it to match the presentation. Sometimes that looks a little funny. Hopefully you're a little familiar with shrinking images so that they'll fit on the page. You might do a little bit of Google searching that might help you on finding that, or maybe ask a friend. Let's view the presentation again. And then here you can see that description still shows up, but here's that text that I actually typed in. So this is a really good way to actually type text that you can use over and over again in multiple presentations. We're hoping that we'll adopt the ePortfolio and you might be using it in more than one course. One thing to just kind of check out under this theme tab, you can see a whole bunch of different themes that you might want to use for your ePortfolio. If you've done any blogs or things like that, it might look kind of similar to that. Then the final thing I want to show you, and this is really important, is this permissions button up here. By default, the ePortfolio, anything you do in the ePortfolio will not be shared to your instructor. It won't be shared to anyone in the world. It's private, just to you. It's up to you. You have to make the decision to share this with your instructor or to share this with anybody in the world. I'm going to talk about sharing with external users. That's people who aren't in UW first, because it's really simple. If you wanted to share it with anybody, maybe your parents or whoever, you could check this box and then it will give this URL that you can share with them. Just be a little cautious with that. Again, that's going to make it public. Google shouldn't crawl it unless you link to it somewhere else, but that is how you would do that. You can also use add users to add an email address that will email them an invite where they can create a little password and come in and look at the ePortfolio, which might be really good for prospective employers. That way, if you wanted to remove their access after a while, you could do that. You can actually see under this access log when they've taken a look at it. But the important thing, you probably are going to want to share this with your instructor. You're going to want to go under internal users and add profiles. And we'll create a something for your course so that you can share at the level that your instructor is deemed appropriate to do this permission profiles. I'm going to pick on my own profile here, but we'll create a profile that's pretty close to your name. You can add and send invite, and that'll send an invite to everybody, you know, maybe just the instructors or maybe everybody in the class that you've determined. Oops. Hopefully errors won't like that won't happen too much, but if they do, please let us know. Otherwise, you can just click Save. And if you want to find out a little more about it, you can click the name, and it'll tell you just who it is that has the access and what rights: viewing comments, adding comments, and then assessing and editing. We're not doing too much with that kind of stuff yet. Now, if you want to add a specific person, you can use this Add Users button. At the moment, since we're in the pilot, only your classmates will have access because those are the only people that have access to see things in the ePortfolio. You'll pick the course that your ePortfolio is in, and then you'll get a list of everybody in the course, and you can click their name and say Next, and then send them the invite. And all those invites and things will show up on the first page that we saw when we clicked on the ePortfolio, which is the dashboard. And that's a great way to kind of manage invites that you've seen, things that other people have looked at, and the things that you've recently done in the ePortfolio. So that's about all there is. We're going to be giving you a survey after this semester is over, just to kind of keep track of how things are going for you. But we really wish you the best of luck. And if you have any feedback, be sure to let your instructor know, and they can get in contact with me. So good luck. We hope you really enjoy it. Thanks again.